Today was the final day of the political rallies. The curtains closed on all campaigns today. What will we remember about the candidates and the journey that they traveled to get here? Your candidate or mine? You know what I will remember? Robert Mugabe. I will remember Grace. I will remember this moment.
We are only targeting criminals around him who are committing crimes that are causing social and economic suffering in the country in order to bring them to justice.
And this moment,
Asante sana.
The voice of the people is the voice of God.
I will remember that of all the things we may say about Emmerson Mnangagwa, had it not been for him rising to the occasion, Grace Mugabe would be president. There is nothing on this earth that irritates me more than the vexation of a spirit called Grace Mugabe and her emptiness. I will remember that, albeit for a day, this country came together against a monster, and for the first time, at least in my lifetime, I lived in a country where I could sincerely say we had turned a page. It had become impossible to do business in this country. It had become impossible to have an opinion in this country. Ask the many investors who came and never came again, the ones who packed their bags and left, and of course the ones who stuck through it all. I've shared cold jail cells with Patson Zamara, spent weeks in Chikurubi prison with Promise Mukwananzi, charged with undermining the authority of the president, a whole Robert Mugabe. So I know how painful the journey to get here was. I was on the front line. The truth is, no one person deserves credit over the other. I know white people who became black. I know black people who became white in November. What I mean to say is, I know people who crossed the boundary of color and finally painted the nation's rainbow. I have understood that this country doesn't have hateful people. This country has a people that are after a thing. They're after a passage to prosperity. We all know we can do better. The world knows we can do better. It's this passage to prosperity that has made us register to vote, argue and debate viciously our political concepts and ideas. It's the quest to find a pathway to the life where your kids can live a better life than you did. That's what we're all after. Every generation wants to see the next generation do better than them. I have a son who was born in August last year. And I remember right after the march, I looked at him and I thought to myself, he will never have to call Robert Mugabe his president. Think about that for a second. Any child born as of today never has to call Robert Mugabe their president. Now we have to learn to listen to each other if we're going to trust each other. Not listen to prepare an argument, not give speeches to sell hate. Emmerson Mnangagwa is going to win this election because I cannot afford to go back where we came from. You know Jonathan Moyo? He's doing everything he can to discredit ZANU-PF since he left. He joined MDC not because he believes in them. He joined them because he's bitter. I want you to think about something. Every person who joined MDC joined it because they are bitter. There's nothing they believe in there. What's there to believe in? I want to tell you one reason I will not join MDC. And there is only one reason in this election. This woman. I sat across the table with a finance director, and he told me point blank that she will be the next vice president of the country. There is one reason Nelson Chamisa will not tell you who his team is. There is one reason we don't know who his vice president is. The same reason I will not be voting for MDC, Grace Spirit Mugabe. I cannot imagine this country entertaining the vice presidency of Grace Mugabe. Think about it. No matter how many times it's been asked, neither Grace nor Nelson have denied the possibility of her coming back as vice president. Chamisa has received millions of dollars from Grace. After the donors he was so used to abandoned him. Remember the Soros Foundation? Abandoned him. Roy Bennett abandoned him. Elton Mangoma abandoned him. My fellow Zimbabweans, President Emmerson Mnangagwa is not a perfect man. I have a lot of issues I would like to see him get on top of. But I cannot imagine the return of Grace Mugabe. See, politics is a dangerous game where enemies become friends for pursuit of power. I'm not asking you not to exercise your free will. I'm asking you not to take us back to Grace Mugabe. Give Emmerson Mnangagwa a chance, because he hasn't failed so far ever since he came in, has he? Since 9 months ago. The only headlines that this man has made have been about moving this country forward. He does not fight people. He is not spiteful. He spends every second of the day working to fix this country. He has displayed a steady hand, a sharp mind. He has displayed an unclenched fist, because he understands you cannot shake the world's hands with your bowed fist. Ask the business leaders. Ask our former enemies, the countries we were not talking to. Ask the many groups that were alienated from this country for so long. I will be voting for Emmerson Mnangagwa because I cannot afford to have Grace Mugabe back in government. Chamisa is enough by himself. I understand the false euphoria you watched today at the MDC rally. But hear me and hear me good. It wasn't anything special. Anything special at all. In 2013, Morgan Tsvangirai had twice the crowd, his biggest crowd ever, before walking himself into the slaughterhouse of ZANU-PF, where he faced his largest defeat in the history of MDC. The numbers will never lie. Mapostori alone will bring a solid 600,000 to 700,000 votes for ZANU-PF before the game even begins. The party base will bring another 2 million. ZANU-PF is sitting on 2.6 million votes at the starting line. So I am in no doubt of the win. They're fighting to control parliament. As it comes to an end, I'm voting ED because he takes me forward. Chamisa has taken the arrogant path, just like Grace, just like Robert. He feels entitled to my vote. Exactly what I hated about Grace and what I hated about Robert. A friend of mine asked me today, "Oh, your man, but he's been part of the system for so long." I responded and I told him, sadly in politics, if he spoke any earlier, he would be dead. He wasn't just a part of it, he was part of actually getting rid of it. Trust me, some of us tried it the other way, okay? We tried to get on the street, we tried to be loud and use more feet. All Emmerson Mnangagwa did for 38 years is use his head. I'm voting for President Emmerson Mnangagwa, not because of any other reason, except he is the steadiest hand to take this country forward. Until tomorrow, head bowed. Hi guys, thank you for supporting the Lumumba Files. To make sure you don't miss the show, press the subscribe button below and the notification button, that's the one with the little bell, and you will always get told when I put up a show. Thank you for watching, head bowed.